I've entitled this, if you're taking notes, I want you to pay attention. The question is this: who is your king? The reason being, because who your king is will determine the way that you live. Right? And the way you live will reflect who or what king sits in your heart. It's as simple as that. Who's the king of your money? Who's the king of your time? Who's the king of your habits? And I think that's an important question that you and I should tackle, because sometimes we can say that Jesus is our king, but it's not reflecting in the way that we live. Come on, right? And we need to be careful. My first real experience of God, I remember I was still in grade 7. I was in grade, how many of you are in grade 7? Probably none of you. I know. We're grade 7 in our minds, no? Okay. But any grade 7 people in the house? No? Okay, we got a few. Sige, Romeo. I'll take that. Okay. So I remember going to a retreat in our school, and I was in grade 7, and I could not understand what was happening. But while the worship was going on, a pastor was speaking. I remember very clearly he was talking about John chapter 15. John chapter 15 was about abiding in the Lord. That means stay connected to the Lord. And in a moment as we were praying, I really felt God's presence. It was so strong. And I started to weep and I started to pray out loud. And I remember going home from that camp. It was like a retreat to end the year, the school year. I remember that summer so well because every day I woke up, it was so extraordinary. I could literally feel as if God was in the room. Every day, grade 7 summer. I remember it like it was yesterday. And all the times, the experiences I've had with the Lord, there's some way, somehow, I remember the verse, who was talking. It's so alive and vivid to me. And that's why until this very day, I believe so much how real God is, because I've experienced Him. And I want you to have experiences like that. But I want to tell you the sidetrack of my life. It was around that time as well when I entered into, of course, later in high school, I got into college. I want to say this really easy for you to understand. How you live in your teenage years will literally be how you live in your 20s. And the decisions you make in your 20s and how you live in your 20s will be how you live in your 30s. You just carry it over. And until something or someone arrests your life and you begin to change, but you'll just be carrying yourself decade after decade. So before we jump into the word, I'm just sharing a story. I want to make sure that no one takes a photo of this, because there's a rare photo of me. Okay? A rare photo of me, 2001. The decisions I made in my teenage years, that was me drinking. And if you missed who I was, that's me. Na zoom in bagyo, the picnic, the vodka. Don't take pictures, okay? Can you remove it? Can you show it? Those two friends of mine, they're brothers. I called them today. I said, bro, sorry ha, laglaga na. I'm going to show a photo. And they're both married. They're both Christians. They're both solid with the Lord. Both of them are based in Manila. But later on in my teenage life, I decided to get with the wrong crowd. And I decided that I would live my own life. You see, you can have all the God experiences in your past. But if you don't decide who your king is, you will live a certain way in allegiance to the king that you believe in. So, my teenage years, I got into drinking. Don't show the picture, that's okay. Someone might take a picture. Thank God during my time, there was no phones that could take good video. If not, I'm going to have a lot of things online that I can't take back. But your generation is different. You're dealing with a whole new level of reality. During my time, our online world was not as big and not as mature as your online world. I remember my eyes had opened when I started to get involved in youth camps in the church, because it was in youth camps that I saw how real the spirit world is. I saw young people demonized. I've seen young people, I know how small their voice is, but when they answer me back, it's a deep voice coming from hell. And I would go home from these camps. We did camps over 15 years. And we would see demonic activity. And I would go home remembering, wow, how real is the spirit world? And the moment you wake up, I want to tell you this. You are in the middle of a war. And the moment you wake up, there's a fight for your affection and a fight for your attention. In my days, we had pagers. You can't do anything with a pager and a dummy phone. Today, you have smartphones that talk to you, that listen, that you can interact with. And the moment you wake up in the morning, even before brushing your teeth, you reach for your phone, right? Because the brush is too far to reach. You go for your phone, check your messages, respond. Sometimes you linger in bed. So the moment you wake up, there's already a war for your life. There's a war to get more time from your eyes, to get more brain activity from you. And you might not realize this, but it's a non-stop war. And we have an enemy called the devil that is working double time to rob you of your life. In fact, Jesus says it so well. The resume of the devil is to steal, kill, and destroy. Can you imagine if you have an enemy out to steal, kill, and destroy? And we're just living status quo and chill lang with the world? You and I are going to lose that battle. That's why my question today is, who is your king? By the way, that photo of me that was around circa 2001, okay, that was, wow, I was 21 years old at the time. And my friends, they're still alive, married, in church. They do Bible studies. God saved us. When I talk to them today, I talked to one of my friends in that photo for about an hour. And I said, bro, I remember sitting in that place in your house. It was his house. I remember having no direction in life and no purpose in life. I was just happy to drink all the hard drinks. That's all that I did. I loved it. And there was even times, and I remember around that same week, coming from church on a Sunday when the weekend would hit, my pastor would call me, Brian, I expect you to come to youth. You know, our youth at the time was very small. There's a youth breakout, and we called it a discipleship group, a D group. And I said, Pastor Sam, I really can't make it. Some of you met Pastor Sam last year at camp. I said, I really can't make it. Pastor Sam, he says, why? I'm really busy. And it so happened, I was going out with my friends to drink, right? And I remember entering the 7-Eleven. I go straight to the counter. I order a whole case of San Miguel beer, Pale Pilsen, the classic, not the light, that's lousy, just the classic, just classic. So I ordered that. And then, of course, my favorite at the time was my best friend, Red Horse. It's my best friend. I know the name of that horse. We talked a lot, many times. So I picked up the case, I paid for it, and as I was, my two friends were behind me. As I was exiting 7-Eleven, Pastor Sam was entering 7-Eleven. As in, walking, bro, about fish. And then he calls me, Brian. Yes, Pastor Sam, holding the beer. But you know what happened that night? I gained his trust and he gained mine because he didn't tell my parents. He made a choice. It was a hard choice. But from that time on, he knew that I knew that every time we're in church and we see each other, this guy knows something about my life. And from there, it was only God's grace why we made it here today. When I was looking at that picture, I couldn't imagine me being there. And I was even thinking, should I show this or not? Because it's very few. I have very few photos of my past life. But when I look at my life today, I have so many photos worshiping God. I have so many photos serving. And you can, yes, thank you. Clap for me. Clap for me. I'm just, clap for the Lord. Clap for the Lord. So I want to bring you today to Daniel chapter 1. Be quick as we can because I want to show you the parallels of this. Daniel chapter 1, verses 1 to 8. It should be on the screen today. There you go. I'll read it from the screen. I'll move aside so you can see it. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand with some of the articles of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God. And he brought the articles into the treasure house of his God. And then the king instructed 𝗝𝗡, the master of his eunuchs, to bring some of the children of Israel and some of the king's descendants and some of the nobles, young men in whom there was no blemish, but good looking, gifted in all wisdom, possessing knowledge and quick to understand, who had the ability to serve in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the language and the literature of the Chaldeans or the Babylonians, same. And the king appointed for them a daily provision of the king's delicacies and of the wine which he drank, and 3 years of training for them, so that at the end of that time they might serve before the king. Now from among those, the sons of Judah were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. To them the chief of the eunuchs gave names. He gave Daniel the name Belteshazzar, to Hananiah Shadrach, to Mishael Meshach, and to Azariah Abednego. Just a few verses, this is the last. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portions of the king's delicacies, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the chief of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. I'll just talk about this really quick. We'll do our best. A lot of notes, but I don't intend on finishing everything. So the king that besieged Jerusalem, I think that statement alone should stop you in your tracks. Because a lot of us assume because you're a child of God that you're untouchable. Excuse me. God allowed that Israel would be besieged by another nation. You and I are not exempted from trouble. It will happen. But you see, in the midst of that trouble, the question is how you respond to it. So when we look into this really quick, what Babylon did, we'll call it the king of Babylon. What the king of Babylon did, he did not just get the valuable stuff in Israel. You know what he did? He targeted the youth and the next generation. That's what he did. Because the king knew that if he could touch the next generation, he could change the entire trajectory of another nation. So instead of killing Daniel and his friends, what did he do? He took Daniel in, he chose the best of the best, and he took Daniel and his friends in to train them in the ways of Babylon or in the ways of the Chaldeans. Same thing. And I want you to see that today, because whether we believe it or not, the king of this world has taken captive this generation, and he's discipling you day in and day out, and you don't even know it. Imagine this. If you spend about 3 to 4 hours on your phones conservatively every day, and then you only spend 2 hours with us here on a Friday, who do you think gets more mileage with your mind and with your heart? Not us. It's going to be the world. Think about that. And how can we compete with that? It's 2 hours every week. If you go on a Sunday, okay, 4 hours whole week. Eh, ang 4 hours, 1 day lang on a phone. But it's happening every day. On a weekend, even more. And this device is speaking to you. And like the same king of Babylon, what he did is that he's taking this next generation and he's shaping you to become like him in his image and in his likeness. Remember, in the Garden of Eden, your original design is that you were created in the image of God. That's why Satan hates you. Because when he sees you, he sees the image of God, and he is all out to destroy that image in your life. And some of you are here, you believe the lie. The lie that you're useless, the lie that you're dumb, the lie that you're hopeless, the lie that you should end your life now, the lie that everything is not happening according to what you expect, so just go ahead and end your life. And you've bought into that lie, and that's all Satan's work. Why? Because if he can destroy the image of God in your life, guess who wins? He wins. And that's what the king did. And if you notice this, what Babylon does is that it reprograms the mind. Exactly. He says in verse 3 and 4, Daniel and his friends were taught the language and literature of the Babylonians. And what Babylon did is that they did not kill these men. They discipled them. Right? Normally a king would just kill the enemy and end it. No, but he had a plan. He wanted to disciple them for 3 years. You know why? Because when he returns them to their land, they would think like a Babylonian. They would speak like a Babylonian. They eat like a Babylonian. But on the outside, they were still Hebrews. They were still Israelites. Exactly like we are. Let's look at a few things. How Babylon reprograms the mind today. Media. Can we be honest here? How many of you, first thing in the morning, you grab your phones? Come on, I'm a part of that. Yes, it's okay. I'm not going to fight you today. We're not here to do that. Music. Social media. How your minds are reprogrammed. All the content streaming. The culture of gaming. All of that. It's just adding up. Online influencers. You have AI-generated content. Today, it's so hard to tell sometimes which is AI and which isn't. When the war started, some are not even real. AI-generated stuff. But they're still fun to watch, aren't they? And if you look at this, everything that's being pushed into your mind every single day is a new version of truth. It's about your sexuality. It's about your success. It's redefining success. It's redefining purpose in your life. It's trying to change your identity. It's trying to point you to so many directions about who God is and who God is not. Sometimes it's a capital G God and sometimes it's a small g God. But non-stop, these ideas are being pushed to you. Truth, sexuality, success, purpose. And your definition of success and purpose is being changed by the world by the minute. And you remember the part of the story that we read? The king offered Daniel and his friends the delicacies of the king. What does that mean? You know what? The world is out to change your appetites. For sure. How many of you know that if you give in to sin now, it's easy to give in to sin again later? Because it's an appetite changer. It's an appetite changer. In fact, if you say no to sin, it's easier to say no again. But it's true that what the enemy wants to do is if he can change your appetites, then he can change what you crave for. And then he can dictate what's next in your life. So can you imagine with me, your generation is constantly looking at your device. It's constant stimulation, non-stop, 24/7 pretty much. How many of you sleep late at night? Come on, night sleepers. Come on, be honest, be honest. Yeah, that's me. I'm looking at myself. And it's usually at night when your mind is so stimulated. And I'll tell you what, it's at night your mind is most awake and it's instant gratification. Why? Because as long as you can keep scrolling, seeing new things, exploring new chat rooms and just exchanging with friends, you're so awake when you're supposed to be asleep. Are you still with me? And then how many of you know this, that social media is going to curate everything for you because it knows and studies what you look at. Every time you scroll and you stop for 5 or more seconds in one particular reel, it'll record that. It'll know what you like and what you don't like. Because you start to X and cross out the ones you don't like, you snooze the ones you don't like. So as you use your phone more, it learns about you more. So one day you open your device, everything you see is perfectly tailored fit to your appetites. And guess who created that appetite? They did. And now you have an appetite. My kids, for instance, I can eat a meal without dessert. I'm fine with that. And it's a complete meal. My children, because they started out that way, a meal is not complete if why dessert? So now, after a meal and I'm full, Papa, where will we have dessert? It's an appetite that was built in. And this generation, I want to tell you, Babylon, this world has baked in appetites in you that by original design should not be there. Some of you have appetites for sex and sexuality. Some of you have appetites for pornography that's not supposed to be there. You have appetites for stuff that's not supposed to be there. The worst I had before growing up is that because we didn't really have tiny devices that could play games, but I was a gamer. I built machines for games. I still do that for some people. Until now in Manila, They consult with me. I build gaming rigs for them. I do that. I love it. But I'm not a gamer anymore. But I understand the culture. So I used to play with consoles. I used to build PCs and games. We would go until the wee hours of the morning. And I'm telling you, playing these games, there are times in the middle of my dream, I feel like I'm in the game. And I'll kick in my bed. Then I wake up. I'm not in the game. I go back to sleep. It's like you're living another world in your mind. Why? Because I'm there 8 hours. And I don't know if you're like me, but if I'm playing, supposing a role-playing game, an RPG, and I'm really in it, I really give my whole life to that thing. I can play 9 hours straight. I skip meals. Anyone like that? You forget you're hungry? Look at that. No, seriously. You forget you're hungry. And here's how I know that at that time my king was not Jesus. Because if I could skip meals for a game, then God was not my king at all. But when we ask you in church, fasting da, let's fast and pray. I don't want to fast. I'm so hungry. But when you're playing and doing something you love, you skip it. And again, it's training your mind. That's what the king of this world does. And here's where I want to focus on, and this is where I'm going to end. In Daniel 1:6-7, what they did was the ultimate thing. What the king ordered is that I want you to change their names. And I want to show you their name change. Next slide, please. Their original names was all connected to God. Daniel's name meant God is my judge. Hananiah, Yahweh is gracious. Mishael, who is like God. Azariah, Yahweh has helped. And what he was doing is he was changing their image. In fact, some of you don't even know the name Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. What you know is their Babylonian names. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And that's what the king does. And in this age today, you don't realize it, but your name's changing. Because who you are is beginning to shift. You're believing different truths about sex. You're believing different truths about love. You're believing different truths about purity. And you're creating a worldview that during my time never existed. During our time, it was so limited. Our online world was so limited. But you guys have an online world that's even more real than what you see. In your real life, you might have 30 best friends, but in your online life, you have 1,000 of friends. So it becomes more real. But you see, that's what's shaping your perception now. And look at what happens when the world does that to you. Look at this. The world will tell you, show me the next slide. Look at this. This is what the world tells to reshape you in its image. You're your followers. It'll tell you that you're your body. It defines what sexy is and what handsome is, and you believe it. And you wake up with one pimple, it's like you want to commit suicide. Why? Because of the shame that the world put over one single pimple. It tells you that you're your sexuality, you're your performance. So every time you fail, you feel like a loser. You are your brand, you're your struggle, and you're your achievements. So everyone is trying to be someone or something that they're not. And guys, I'm serious. That's the struggle of your generation. Man, the pressure to be where you are. I don't know if I could even take it. We did not have that pressure. Today, if a friend of yours did something stupid at a party, you would know in a matter of minutes. In our day, we would know in a matter of years. If mag-reunion na the following year, did you know ng party? This guy did, oh wow, but it's a year ago. You guys know it in minutes. So the shame factor is quick. The pressure is quick. And that's exactly what the king of Babylon was doing. I want to rename these people so that they become shaped in my image and in my likeness. No longer their original image. In the image and likeness of God. Are you catching this today? Because I want you to be watchful. You know why? Whoever has your eyes has your heart. And whoever has your heart has your life. And I wonder how many young people here have given their eyes to so many things. That's why when worship comes on, dili ka maka-worship because your mind's all over the place. You know why I know? Because I've been there many times. And look at what Look at what Babylon is doing. Babylon is playing the long game. Can you show me verse 5, Daniel 1 verse 5? What Babylon, the king of Babylon said was this: give me all the best of Judah and the best of Israel. Show me Daniel 1 verse 5 really quick. And what the king did is that he says, give me 3 years to train Daniel and his friends. And in that 3 years, I'll shape them in my image. You know how significant that is? Because you and the youth, basically we have around 3 years with you. Dan, how many Fridays do we have? We have 255 Fridays. 253 na lang, minus 2. And that's for a span of basically their entire education life. Can you imagine? 253 Fridays, that's all we have. So what what the king did, he says, give me 3 years and I will disciple and reshape Daniel and his friends to be a Babylonian. And isn't that true for us today? Outwardly, you're still you. You're still like Daniel and his friends. You're still Israelite. You're still Hebrew. But inwardly is where the change happens. That's why you have a lot of people in church lift their hands. They worship. They God. They cuss. They sin. They steal. They hurt. And that's exactly what he was doing. I don't have to change you on the outside. It's easy man to be plastic, right? But if I can change you on the inside, he wins. So his goal was, after 3 years, he sends Daniel and his friends back so that they are Hebrew on the outside, but Babylonian on the inside. Inside job good. And that's exactly what Satan is doing in your life. It's an inside job. Why can't I shake this addiction? Because giluto ni Satan for years and decades over your life. Right? And something happens in your family, your parents, it becomes a dysfunctional home. Satan is going to capitalize on that narrative and that story, and he's going to make that narrative your narrative. And until today, we have young adults so afraid to get married because they think if they get married, they will repeat exactly what their mom and dad did. Why? Satan's cooking that narrative into your life, changing your identity. But let me tell you this. You are not your parents. Your story is different. You don't have to be like who they are. You are different. That's what we're trying to tell you here. Because the main part of this verse, the clincher here is verse 8. You know why? Despite all the pressure. Show me Daniel 1 verse 8. Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself. That was it. Regardless of the pressure around him, he says, no. I will not give in to this pressure. I decide to not be like Babylon. I decide to not be like the world. I decide to be different. We said last week, the easiest thing you guys can do is say yes to peer pressure. Saying yes is easy. It's saying no that's hard. And that's why our challenge to you is to say no. Because Daniel purposed in his heart, he pushed back and he says, no. You can have me for 3 years. You can try to shape me, reshape me, disciple me. You can put all sorts of pressure in my life. But you see, when your purpose has been made at the heart level, not at the mind, not in an altar call where you raise hands and you're emotional. When you purpose in your heart, it's more than just emotion. It's a hard decision you make to be different. And that's why the whole time, Daniel and his friends were never shaped to become like Babylon. They were more like God than they were like the world. And that's your call, to be different. Tell the person beside you, you're different. And some of them look different. Can I give you 4 things really quick? It's all up there on the screen. I'll move it on the side. Practical things to purpose in your heart. Practical, number 1. You guys have to decide your identity before the culture of this world will set it on you. Because your friends will tell you who you're supposed to be. The world will tell you who you're supposed to be and who you're not supposed to be. But right here, right now, you got to decide who your king is. Because if Jesus is your king, your lifestyle will follow. Come on. It might not be perfect, but you're going to get up and you're going to bounce back. When you fall, you sin, you bounce back, you walk again. Amen. Number 2, you guard what shapes your mind. That means you and I have to learn to filter what our eyes look at, what our ears hear, and who speaks into your life. Come on, that's number 3. You got to choose your friends. You got to choose your friends. Can I say this? You might get hurt. Can you get rid of that toxic friend in your life already? Don't look at them. You're looking at them now. Sorry, bro. Sorry. So later when we're worshiping, and dili man ma-obvious, they're raising their hands. Thank you, Jesus. Right? No, but I'm serious. This verse, 1 Corinthians 15, bad company corrupts good character. Listen, your friends will determine the direction and the quality of your life. If you're around toxic friends, guess what? You're going to be toxic. If you're here today and you're looking around, wala may toxic, it's probably you. You're the toxic friend. They need to get rid of you today. I'm just kidding. Wala may toxic, pastor. They're all okay and they're all looking at you. Ikaw ang toxic. But seriously, you need to redefine friendships. That's why today I want to challenge you. The real world is this. You come here to youth, this is a place we're going to love you through your weakness until we see you stand. It's not your online friends that are going to be there. You're in trouble. Your online friends are not going to show up. We're here to show up. We're going to journey with you. We're going to walk with you. No one gets left behind. Choose your friends wisely. I know there will always be people here that are here for the wrong motives. Because I know I've done that. Bible steady, kana. Disciple chicks. We know this. Disciple chicks. Evangeligaw. Grabe, no? And finally, stay rooted in God's presence. And one of the ways you can stay rooted is stay connected here. Because we want to usher you into the presence of God. I can change your life. The core team can change your life. I can tell you, Jesus can change your life. He will change your heart. He will change your mind. Can you stand to your feet really quick? Stand to your feet. Whether you believe this or not, you are created in the image and likeness of God. That means when Satan looks at you, he sees a reflection of his enemy. And that's why tonight you want to decide who your king is. Who's king of your eyes? Who's king of your heart? Who's king of your time? And when you get out these doors, the moment you get out, again, the war starts again. The moment you sleep at night, you wake up in the morning, the war begins again. Who gets your time? Who gets your energy? Who gets your strength? Who gets the best of you? You have to realize who gets the best of you is your king. One of my testimonies is that when I was in high school and college, not only was I living in sin, but I was so overweight. But I was the type of person that I didn't really care what people thought about me. I was about 250 pounds. And everyone wanted to recruit me into their fraternity. I said, what do you want me to do? Sit on your enemies? But I was a friend of many. But you see, what I realized is that the world had put appetites in me for different things. I was out of control. It was only a reflection of what was going on inside me. But it's when Jesus became my king, the appetite started to change. And I can tell you this, the best of the world is nothing compared to the best of Jesus. Nothing. Nothing. And as a youth ministry, we're not here to say we're the best youth ministry. We're here to say we want to serve you the best of Jesus. When you take that into your system, it changes your mind, your heart, the way you operate, the way you think. You are not an accident. You're a person of purpose. You bear the image of God. And the Bible says, greater is He that lives in you than he that is in the world. That means the king of this world has nothing on you. He can try to shape you, but tonight you're deciding, I purpose in my heart not to defile myself. I'm saying no to the world, and I'm saying yes to Him, because I have a purpose and I have a call, and you have it in your life. Oh, I can just imagine when you say yes to Him, how powerful it will be. Because now that you're discipled in Jesus, you go back to your school and you can change your school for Jesus Christ. Now, we do it the opposite. When you're reshaped in Jesus, you can go back to your household and change your household for Jesus Christ. Because something in you is changing. Your mind, your heart, your body. My question is this: who is your king tonight? It has to be Him.